Let's take a quick look at the difference between the Manji Sai and the regular Sai, both in handling and usage. Here's the regular Sai. It has a handful of parts. You've got back here, there's the butt end, there's a handle section. This part here is called yoko, that just means the sides, but let's use a word like prong or tine. I like the word tine to describe this. And then this part is the shaft or the monouchi. This is the main body of the weapon, the longest chunk of it. And it's pointed on this side, and it's not pointed on this side, though there are some that are designed with kind of pointy caps on them, so they're a little more nasty, but one end is designed to be able to go into a target, and the other end is designed not to. So that's how this looks. It's a pretty straightforward and simple weapon. Here's how you handle it. There are two positions with the Sai. One is called open and one is called closed. This is the closed position. So you see how my thumb catches into the yoku here. I've wrapped my fingers around. I got 3 fingers there. This finger, a lot of people will put that right along the handle. Actually, I find my finger hooks this way. I get kind of a hooking feeling. You can also just do this. That works too. So all of those are fine. When you want to go from the closed position to the open position, the method is, there's a couple different ways to do this. One way, you lay it against the side of your body, and then you kind of fling it out like that. That was the first method I was taught. But then somebody made the observation that, oh, that means that you're manipulating the weapon as you're swinging it out. So the second way I was taught, and this is the way that I do now, is I'll let the Sai fall and just turn my hand over. And then it's almost like I'm stabbing downward, and then I will swing it out and strike out. I want to say something about the angling position. Most people learn to hold their Sai this way. See how my thumb lies right there, and it's kind of at a right angle to my hand. See, thumb lined up this way. This is not a very good way to hold the weapon, but it's the preferred method if you like competition, because it looks nice. It's that nice flat look to it. If you doubt what I'm saying about it not being the most practical for actual use, what you need to do is go outside, go find a tree, hold the Sai in this manner, the horizontal way, thumb on top, stab the tree as hard as you can, then turn the Sai to this position, stab the tree as hard as you can, and then come back. So hit pause, I'll wait for you. There's another reason why this is important, because this outward movement this way, it's very common in Sai kata. It's a very traditional movement. Most people, when they're doing the sort of thumb in the center version, what they're doing is they're thinking, I'm going to smash you with the flat of the weapon. But if my hand is this way, then when I go to do that strike, pay attention to this. You see? Do you see how that actually goes first? That's what you're hitting with. You're much closer to your opponent than you imagine. Opponent's not way out there. Your opponent's right here, and you're coming in, and this goes right into the soft tissue. If they move away, they still get hit by this. But that is not the primary striking surface. This is the primary striking surface. That's why it flares out like that. The architecture of the weapon defines its use. The other characteristic of this architecture of the weapon is that this flare out means that if I were to take a pair of Sai and drag it across somebody's arm, it will inevitably pulls them into the weapon. It just sucks them right in. It wouldn't do that if this was straight. It would just stick in their arm. But this sucks them in. It traps the arm. And that becomes an essence of Sai movement. In application, a lot of the techniques, maybe most of the techniques, because this is a police weapon, are for holding and pinning people. So you hook that in there, they pull really tight, and they're trapped. If somebody's trying to draw a sword, I can stop the sword draw, drop this down on their arm, it'll hook their arm, and when they go like this, pull the arm off that sword. I can come this way, up towards their head, and do that, and then this hooks behind their jaw, which gives me the really good control that I want against somebody who's armed with a sword. So the Manjisai doesn't have a butt, it has a point. It has a shorter end, which would be handle, if you will, and it has a longer end, which would be the shaft or the monouchi. It has the yoko. They're shaped the same way. However, one of them points back, one of them points forward. So for convenience, I refer to the one that points forward as the tine, and the one that points back I call the hook. Manji, the name Manjisai, Manji refers to the shape, a shape which is very important in Hindu religion, Buddhist religion. You find it very commonly across the Far East. This is also sometimes called nunti-sai. So nunti has a different meaning. Nunti means piercing hands, because every single surface is pointy and for sticking into something. Just like the sai, it has two positions, the open and close. Now, if you've never picked up Manji-sai, you'll look at it and you'll go like, oh, how am I supposed to hold this? And then if you know how to do regular sai, you're going to put your thumb where it belongs, and then you're going to try to squeeze all of your fingers in right there like that. Maybe lay your index finger along the short end, the handle, and your fingers are going to feel really uncomfortable. It just doesn't feel right. I found that as I used the weapon a lot, and this happened really without me being initially conscious of it. Eventually what happened, I'd be like doing my techniques, and pretty soon, as I was working my way through, I found myself grabbing it this way. This is called a split grip. 2 fingers below, 2 fingers above. Really a strong grip. Great way to hold the weapon. But the place where grip manifests itself is incredibly important. It's in that familiar outward movement. Same movement that I showed you with the regular sai. This one you go like this. But if I use Manji-sai now for that motion, there's nothing going into the target. But if instead I pay attention to the architecture of the weapon and I do that movement, then it looks like this. And now suddenly, oh my goodness, this is a weapon you do not want to encounter. Because this thing is coming at you, this point, and then right away it hooks and pulls. Now, if I'm pulling and I'm holding it like this, as if it was a regular sai, my hand will just slip off. But you will have noticed already, I was using a split grip. Happens like automatically when you start worrying about application, your fingers just go to different places. So I'm not coming this way. I'm here, so I really have control of the weapon. That's why the finger goes there, so that my hand can't slip off, so that I can hook and pull. It also then changes what's happening when I'm doing the other kinds of techniques, like I showed you before, ripping down this way to pull somebody's arm away. Well, if I have Manji-sai in the closed position, there's nothing there. It's facing the other direction, which means if I want to take advantage of that same architecture of the weapon, I have to come in this way with a feeling more like pushing. With the regular sai, I turn my hip to square, I turn my hip to square. With the Manji-sai, same technique, but now I turn my hip forward. This is called the half-facing position. And then I turn my hip forward. With the Manji-sai, when I was doing the sweeping, striking motion, I pulled so my hip was square. But that same movement with the regular sai, I push so my body is in the half-facing position. So what you see is that these weapons are similar, but they're not identical. What's different is how you use them and how you hold them, and there's a relationship between those two realities. But it's also different in terms of the way your body moves. And that means if you know a traditional kata for the sai, you can pick up a pair of Manji-sai and just change the way your body moves. So most techniques where with the regular sai you're going to turn this way and be kind of squared up, that same motion with the Manji-sai, you turn to angle and push away. If a movement with the regular sai has you scooping this way, with the Manji-sai, it's going to have you punching. Also, the more you look at a weapon based on its architecture, the more you will be able to discover how it's intended to be used. Knowing this allows you to explore and deepen your understanding of traditional weapons. I'm Chris Thomas. Thanks for watching. Now go train.